Roll call.
Jizzle.
Here.
Neal.
Here.
Olson.
Here.
Luce.
Here.
Zittergruen.
Here.
Hadley.
Here.
Johnson.
Is there anyone who wishes to speak to the council on something that's not on the agenda? Seeing none. Human Rights Report. Melissa Cook. Don't see her. The report is in the Dropbox.
That is correct. I know she had anticipated being here,
Okay.
but we could move on from the agenda.
Right, and then we'll go back if she comes in the meantime. Okay, consent agenda, and please remember to have your microphone close. Everybody who's going to be making any comments. Thank you.
Item A, minutes of the October 2nd, 2023 meeting. B, claims. C, tax abatement at 1001 and 1003 Glen Barth Circle, new construction, Ossiehagen Senior Services. D, tax abatement at 1002 and 1004 Glen Barth Circle, new construction, Ossiehagen Senior Services. Item E, special event 5K Freedom Run, empowering veterans through outdoor wellness. F, consider pay application number 2 for the Decorah 2023 Alley Improvements Project. G, consider pay application number 3 for the Decorah 2023 Street Improvements Asphalt Resurfacing Project. And H, mural permit application 206 West Main Street. Staff
Motion to
would
approve.
if you would
Just
please.
a minute.
Sorry.
No
Staff
problem.
would recommend actually pulling item E and table until further. There was some miscommunication about the length of the closure. And so staff would like to reach out to the applicant and talk to them further before council considers.
And that isn't, the event isn't until June
June, yeah,
of
there's time.
2024.
So you want one of us to pull it?
If you would, please.
Mayor, I'd like to pull that item off of the consent agenda.
Okay, do you need a second to
Second.
that too? Okay.
Motion to approve the consent agenda minus that E.
Lewis would second.
Motion made by Olson, seconded by Luz, to pass the consent agenda with E taken off. Any other further discussion?
Do we need to make a motion to table E then, or?
After the consent agenda, yep.
Okay. Roll call?
Olson,
Aye.
Luce,
Aye.
Chisel,
Aye.
Neal,
Aye.
Zittergruen.
Aye.
Hadley,
Aye.
Johnson.
Aye.
Hadley
Okay.
will make a motion to table item E from the consent agenda.
Second.
Until.
Motion made by Hadley, seconded by Neal, to table item E. Any further discussions? Seeing none, roll call?
Hadley,
Aye.
Neal,
Aye.
Olson,
Aye.
Luce,
Aye.
Zittergruen.
Aye.
Johnson,
Aye.
Chisel.
Aye.
Conduct public hearing on the sale of city-owned real property in the vicinity of Decorah High School softball diamond and the corner of Claiborne Drive and Hively Street.
Mayor, Melissa has arrived, so
Okay.
it may be worthwhile before starting, because
That's
this
a
is
good
the
idea.
series of 5 more events.
Yeah.
Go
That'd be
ahead and
just
handle.
Okay, we're ready for your report. Well, we did start at 5:45, but
Fast.
we were,
for
yeah,
everything.
that part just went fast. We had you at the front.
All right. All right. Well, thank you. So, good evening. My name is Melissa Cook. I'm the chair of the Decorah Human Rights Commission, and I'm here this evening to provide a report on the commission's accomplishments for the past year. So specifically from April of 2022 to October of 2023. So, a little background that the commission was created following the passage of the Civil Rights Ordinance in 2006, with a revised ordinance approved by the City Council in 2022. And our mission is to increase community awareness and appreciation of human diversity through educational programs and to provide appropriate remedies where discrimination has been identified. Specifically, the commission is responsible for addressing discrimination in housing, education, accommodations and services, employment, and credit. The DHRC is a member of the Iowa Human Rights Commission, and currently there are 6 commission members, Sandhya Purutkatan, who's the vice chair, Nikki Battle, and Maria Leitz, who are both here, and Dakota Moore, Joshua Ratel Khan, and myself, Melissa Cook. We have 1 open position at this point. The commission meets at least 6 times a year on the first Tuesday of the month from 5:30 to 6:30, and in 2022 we met 8 times. We did not. Anyway, I won't go into all those details, but the things we wanted to share is we've had no formal discrimination complaints submitted this year or during this time period. So, however, there was a hate crime targeting the LGBTQIA plus community reported by the Decorah UCC on Sunday, September 17th of 2023, following a weekend celebration of Pride. The DHR extended their support to Pride leadership and sent a statement to both the Decorah Community School District Superintendent and Luther College President and the Chief Equity and Inclusion Officer at Luther in the hopes of reaching all students in Decorah. The hate crime has been documented by the Decorah Police as well as in local newspapers and the Mayor's proclamation. And we just recorded the interactions in our report for future folks who want to reference that. Community connections. We have continued to build connections with community organizations in Decorah. In April, Maria, Nikki, and myself attended Luther College's racial healing event. Ann Mansfield and Brianna Burke from Decorah Sustainability Commission have attended DHRC meetings to identify collaboration opportunities and distinctions and efforts of both. So finding collaboration opportunities. And then Nikki, who joined the DHRC this year, is a co-leader of CARE, the Collective Action for Racial Equity community group. I've attended at Luther Colleges, hosted by the Center for Intercultural Engagement and Support, with many Decorah community leaders to reimagine the popular Ethnic Arts Festival, which culminated in a downtown event on September 23rd, and hopefully will be an annual thing that's combined with the college and the community. And then at the invitation of Decorah Pride, the DHRC hosted a rock painting and information booth at the Party in the Park event on September 16th. So we also have plans to expand our community connections, continue to extend invitations to Luther College students who identify as community-engaged human rights leaders to attend the meetings, and seek new members for DHRC from the Luther College community. We have continued conversations with the Sustainability Commission as well. So some resources and updated. We did create a list of resources available from the DHRC webpage that address discrimination in Winnebago County to make that available to more people. Updated our brochure about information about what we're up to and distributing that more widely at a lot of the events I mentioned previously, and also updating the website. We hosted and supported events. So we started the Language Matters series of presentations and discussions, beginning with the Understanding Personal Pronouns back in March, led by Joshua Ratel from our group. And then we also had a second event that we partnered with ACLU of Iowa on, called the Language Matters, the 2023 Iowa Legislative Session's Impact on Civil Rights. And then Dakota Moore from the Commission also co-led that event. We've also supported CARE's June Book Club, Angela Davis Women's Race and Class, attended by Maria Leitz. So, in conclusion, we continue to do those Language Matters education series, and we're also talking with Pride and Luther College and others with possible other collaborations coming. So just in conclusion, I want to say that DHRC recognizes the importance of being a group that community members feel comfortable with to voice their concerns, discrimination complaints, and new ideas. As a commission, we will continue to seek out ways to help community members feel empowered to make changes in Decorah that benefit everyone who lives, learns, and travels in Decorah. And I want to thank you for the opportunity to share the DHR Committee's community connections, accomplishments, and plans. This report marks my last year with the DHRC. My second term ends February 1st of 2024, and I've been the chair of the DHRC for 6 years, beginning when we moved to Decorah from San Francisco. It's been a challenging and rewarding experience, and I know the DHRC is in great hands with our current members, and that they will do all that they can for Decorah to become the place we'll all are welcome.
I do have a question. I did not realize there was an opening. Are you aware?
That's actually what I was going to confirm with you as well. Who stepped down?
Surrey.
Okay.
Who was it?
Surrey.
Okay.
Okay.
Yeah.
So then we will be having another opening
When
in
yeah,
February.
yeah.
And city code also did change, so all the appointments are now done. Instead of February 1st, it's January 1st now.
Okay.
Oh,
So,
good, okay.
It's a little easier to
know.
keep track if it's not February 1, June 1, September
Yeah,
1 for
because
this
that's kind of
one.
all over the place, but yeah.
But, yeah, so
I think it
they are
still
now
says
January 1.
Okay. So yeah, the updates on those on
Right.
the,
I want to thank you for all the work that you have done on
Thank
that
you.
committee.
yeah.
You have been key at moving that along and providing educational information and programming for the community, and then also making connections when issues have arisen. But
Thanks.
you will be missed.
Thank you, thank you. Well, I'm happy to see the Language Matters series. Look for more
Yep.
things posted,
Yep.
so it will continue.
Thank you for your work. I did just have just one
Sure, sure.
ask. I know that when we were interviewing Chief, that one of the things that she worked with in Marshalltown was mental illness and homeless intervention and things like that. Things that we don't talk about in Decorah, but occur. And being homed and being mentally ill, Decorah is still home, and I want to make sure that the Human Rights Commission also addresses those issues as well, because a lot of times we see it as a law enforcement issue, but it's a human rights issue, and I know we have a supportive law enforcement community.
Yep.
So I just encourage the Human Rights Commission to, if there's any interface or educational intervention opportunities with either WinMed or the law enforcement community, that we do a good work in that way. And if you need support, please let us know.
Yeah, that's an interesting point. So, with the chief's predecessors, we've had conversations, numerous conversations around that topic as well. And so that's one of the areas, if you look at like the new research, it's pretty extensive, the resources we added to that so that people can find things. But there are many touch points for the police and finding other avenues. And we started that conversation and, changes and stuff. It is a worthwhile thing to continue to find ways. And we invite, the police used to be on the commission, and I think that's a great connector. So I would invite, a member of the police department to be on the commission, even if you can't serve in that actual role, but to attend the meetings so that we can have, because it's just an ongoing discussion, those kind of resources, because they change over time and.
But I do know in conversations with WinMed that they're looking at, that they've made some changes with their contracting with, the name escapes me, it's a group in Cedar Falls that can bring intervention rapidly so that our people who are having a mental illness episode can not be sitting in an ER for
Right.
for 13 hours or 14 hours while we look for a room. But that public-facing education and community awareness on how to handle situations, I think is important.
Right, and who to reach out to.
And who to reach out to. So,
Yeah.
I know that you were talking about your interface with sustainability. If we can somehow work with that in communication, with their communications, that if you are in crisis,
Right,
that this is a right
yeah,
of yours. So,
yeah. And making that resource really prevalent to the
Right.
community would be great.
yeah. So thank you for your work.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Okay, now we'll go on to 6, and I know that that'll entail 7, 8, 9, and down to 10, probably, so,
And 11.
and 11, that's the end one. So I'm going to let you do some background before I open up the public meeting.
All right, so as the mayor pointed out, 6 is the public hearing. Items 7, 8, 9, 10, and 11 are all council actionable items in relation to the public hearing here. So I'll give the background all together. Public hearing is required by state law before the sale of publicly owned property. This hearing was set at the October 2nd meeting, published in the newspaper on October 5th. Also, as part of the requirements before the sale of city-owned property, city code requires that the Planning and Zoning Commission, as well as the Park Board, weigh in. Both have recommended approval of the proposed purchase agreement. Planning and Zoning Commission 7-0, Park Board 5-0. At the time I wrote my background notes, so anyone that has a copy of those, we had not received any written objections or comments, but have since received a copy of, a written objection from Lori.
Worcester.
Thank you. I always butcher it. I apologize. Worcester, right? Worcester.
Lori was here too, was she?
Okay.
She might still
So,
be here.
copy of her written comments are available in the Dropbox. If anyone wants a hard copy, I can provide those as well. Going on to the background on the actionable items. So 7 is a reserved easement for well and access related to the proposed sale to the school district. So item 7 is a resolution that's contingent upon passage of item 11. All of these resolutions prior to number 11 are contingent upon that passing. So this purchase agreement that's considered number 11 references this item 7. I know it sounds circular, but the reference is made as part of the purchase agreement for this particular item. So this easement includes the city's ability to access the existing city well, and it also includes the wellhead protection area of 200 feet around the well house, which is a state code provision. We've made reference to that in the easement agreement so that for any reason, should the administrative code section change, that changes as well. We provide a table for reference in that agreement. Item 8, the background on that one, again, contingent on 11. This language is in the purchase agreement itself. So these are the utility easements related to the sale on the north and south parcels for all the underground utilities. Again, as part of this consideration for the purchase agreement, the city will reserve the right to maintain, repair all existing underground utilities in the proposed sale area, as well as providing for defined easements, construction easements within the sale area. Let's see here. The easement does say that this is for required maintenance, repair, and replacement, not for the new construction or the additional utilities to be run through it. No buildings would be constructed over top of the existing utilities, but paving could be done. However, the city would not be responsible for replacing any paving as a result of necessary repairs or replacement. It also has provision in there that the school would be able to request the relocation of utilities, but this would be at their expense, and plans would have to be approved by the city. So if in theory they wanted to relocate a storm sewer, but it was half the size and it moved uphill, we could say no. Item 9 is a resolution for sidewalk easement. So typically within the rest of Decorah, we would put sidewalks within the right-of-way, but since the city of Decorah owned these parcels in the surrounding area, that wasn't necessarily a focus. So some of the existing sidewalks are actually on the parcel itself outside of the right-of-way. So this would reserve sidewalk easement all the way around the existing parcel for both existing sidewalks and any proposed future sidewalks. Okay, and then item 10, background on that one. So this is the facilities use agreement with the school district that would allow for our park and rec facilities, our programming to continue to operate as they have in the school facilities without any form of written agreement at this time. So this puts on paper that for the next 50 years or until demolished, the city will be able to continue to use school facilities as well as the existing City Ball Field 1, which is the high school softball field, City Ball Field 2, the tennis courts, until they're demolished. I think that's all the background.
Okay, thank you very much.
Travis, just in case people were listening when you read can you confirm the park board vote? I think you said 5-0.
5-0, yes, 5-0, correct.
was 5-0?
Yes, it was.
Oh.
Yes, it was. Okay, I'll be opening the public hearing. The guidelines are to come up, state your name and address, and I'll allow 4 minutes for each person to discuss. There will be not any questioning back and forth with the council, but council, please take into consideration what questions you might have, and when we're discussing, attempt to address those. Just a minute. I'll open the public hearing.
Thank you. I'm Herb Hageman. I live at 300 Pleasant Hill Drive in Decorah. I've lived in Decorah for 40 years, over the last 60. The reason I'm here is your Honorable Mayor was invited to our Lions meeting on last Tuesday evening. She spoke on a different topic. She spoke on the election and did a very fine job of that. But later I asked her if, regarding the tennis courts, whether they would be moved or whether they'd be replaced, and to be honest, she didn't know. So I've got a couple questions and a couple comments, and I won't be lengthy. First is, will the tennis courts be replaced and where? The where is very important so citizens and especially kids can reach them by bicycle and walking. Number two, the same is true regarding the softball field. Children use this field extensively for park and rec activities, Little League, etc. It is vital that they can access by walking or biking. A lot of Decorah people, including myself, donated funds to reconstruct the tennis courts. Not so many years ago that was done. The location is perfect for high school tennis teams. The courts are also used by many adults and families to play tennis, and certainly in recent years, pickleball is very popular. My question is, and I realize there's some school ownership here too, but you're the ones that are deciding on selling this property. So my question is, where will they go? Now, I've had your attention and you listened, and now I'm gonna sit down and I'm looking to hear some response regarding these questions. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
The only thing, we aren't supposed to.
No,
No, I know, but I think Herb needs to understand that we can't respond right now.
no, I think he knows that.
Oh, you know that.
But what he's saying is he expects to hear when we're discussing.
Okay, all right, I just wanted to be clear.
Okay, anybody else who wishes to approach the council during this public hearing?
Mark Lovelace, 305 Grove Street. First, I'd like to just applaud the people involved, from the park district to the city to school representatives, in entering into a very complex debate and going through it in a solution-based way, and having conversations that at this point look to potentially be a solution that can better the school, the city, and the community as a whole. So thank you, good work. It's a difficult topic where we live. The next is, I think we as community need to trust the process. We have, from yourselves and school, we have elected officials that have entered into these conversations, put a lot of time and energy. We have hired administrators that also have been working on this. And so hopefully we can trust the process, that this has been thoroughly vetted, and there's solutions that are going to make improvements to all facets of our community. The last, I guess it will be the last because we only got 4 minutes, is I'm looking at a document that I pulled out of one of my files, and it says in March 2013, there was a proposal to address the facility at John Klein and West Side School. So, can't vote on a bond for till next November. So that's 2024. Takes a couple years to build a school, so we're looking at 2026. That's a whole generation, kindergarten through senior. That's 13 years of kids that was lost. Not lost, but things didn't get done. So if we don't move forward now, it's probably going to be another 5 years plus those 2 years. So I think we owe it to our teachers, our staff, our administrators, our kids, our community to get this done. And if we can get it done and make improvements for lots of different areas, it's difficult, but I think it's a no-brainer. So thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thanks, Mark.
Hi, Mona Nelson, 505 Leif Erikson Drive. I commend everybody that's been involved for working together. I've spent many years on working with school facilities in my school board service. And this is a different one than what we dealt with because we were dealing only with land already owned by the school. So this one adds another dimension, and maybe a few more constituents have different concerns. By the legislative action, we have 12 months plus to bring this to the community, encourage representatives of all constituencies, whether they have a recreational interest, whether they're a school employee, whether they have just been longtime supporters of public education in Decorah, which we're very fortunate to have. So I think collectively, as elected leaders, whether from the school board side or from the city side, and those of us that are in the community, should look for healthy ways to build information, ideas, and fully understand what's coming forward with this project. And we have time to do that. The old way, back in the days when we were doing school projects, it was the newspaper. And that's not necessarily the best form of, or the widest form of communication. So because this has been such a long, drawn-out process, there's been different ideas floated, and so we need to get accurate information out. Things like, where's softball going? Where's tennis going? Are you closing the street? And certainly there's been a change in the legislature too, where the impact on taxpayers has to be very clearly communicated. So that'll be a new piece of this. But I commend you for this move, and I'm in full support of positive approval of this purchase agreement. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Hello, my name is Ron Fodness. I live at 701 Day Street, and I am the current president of the Decorah School Board. And I come in strong support of this proposal. This is something that has been a community need for many years, and I think that this will be the best single piece of economic development the city of Decorah could possibly do. If we are trying to attract young families, we need outstanding elementary educational facilities. We've already got all the rest. Over the past several years, through the leadership of Mona and several others that preceded those of us that are on the board now, we have outstanding facilities from grades 4 up. Or we still need to complete the circle, which is grades K1 and 2. That means John Klein, and that means West Side. And this will accomplish both of those purposes. So I just want to thank you very much for the hard work. Also with Mr. Anderson, we've had a lot of discussions about the easements, which is by no means an uncomplicated process, but think we've reached a good point in this process, and I strongly urge you to support the sale. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there anyone else who wishes to speak to the public?
Good evening. My name is Elliot Johnson, 106 Spring Street. I'm a former teacher of the school district. I taught over at Cary Lee for 5 years, had a great pleasure there. But as I worked there and worked very hard to build community for our student body, I watched my peers struggle to do that at the beginning of the year and the end of the year, as their days were often impacted by heat and early outs, not just in our building, but at John Klein, the high school, finding routines. And now as the department head of the education department at Luther, we work very hard to partner with our school district and encourage students to consider the profession of education, because without many of the positions and professions in this community, it wouldn't be without the education and the teacher's ability to make an impactful mark on those young students. And so I encourage you to vote in favor of this, because not only is the school district impacted, Luther and the community as well, so that we can have not only facilities, but also great teachers, because the teacher shortage impacts everybody, not just large urban areas, but also small rural areas like Decorah. And providing top-notch facilities will encourage those teachers to not only come to Decorah, but also stay, because they know they have the support of the community. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Aaron Zander, 112 Crescent Avenue. I began my teaching career as a student at Luther College. That began at John Klein Elementary in 2008, working in the music room there. For those that know, that classroom is not airflow in any way. It was hot after the second class had walked in the room, and that was not in August when it's 90 degrees out, but later in the year. I continued my teaching career. My wife and I had our first child in Chicago, and we decided to return to Decorah for many reasons. One, to be closer to family, but two, because the schools in this community are phenomenal. We know that from statewide polling, the AP. Our schools are phenomenal. I commend our teachers for all they've done and continue to do. I myself now have one of those children at John Klein. Things haven't changed from 2008 to today. So when I went in for those pre-orientation days, meet the teacher days, walked into a room for my kindergartner that was 90 degrees. And I knew that was going to be what he experienced the next several days of school. The uncertainty of when will he go to school. It's going to be hot. We know that. There aren't a lot of options. We can install outdoor air conditioning units on the outside. Doesn't really fix the problem. We're finally working towards a solution. I commend the city council, the school board for what they're doing. The potential to build this new school is paramount in my mind and in so many of our minds. As parents in this community, we know it needs to be done. And so I'd like to publicly thank and laud you for your work, and hopefully see a vote continue to make that progress happen.
Thank you very much.
My name is Carol Sand. I live at 706 Fifth Avenue. And I think the devil is in the details, and I would really urge the City Council to take advantage of the platform that you have tonight to provide as many details as you possibly can to the public, to both support the sale and from your perspective, but also looking to the bond election for the school board to give those details that might convince people of the necessity of this, besides that we need a school in a certain location. one of the things that I'd like for you to address when you have your discussion is the city baseball, softball field that we have now in place. Are there deficits to that field that will be improved when the field or fields are moved to a new location? There is a bike trail that children can use to get out to that field for Big League and Little League. I mean, those I think are really important details to be put out to the public and get into the newspaper and Decorah News and every other outlet that you can put out so that people can fully understand what this sale is really all about, that it isn't just about the school, that it might benefit people who don't have children going to school in other ways. And also, I may have missed information about what part of the plan from that group that was hired that put out the plan for that area. And I think particularly people are very concerned about the road closures, and I have not heard any discussion or decisions on that. I think that's really important information for the city to put out also. So I would just urge you today, before you vote, to put out as much information to the public in detail as you possibly can. One last thing is I saw in the Decorah newspaper article, it said that it detailed that the plan is that baseball and softball fields will be paid for by the school district, but city will pay for lighting. I was confused about that. What fields are we talking about there? Is that actually a detail that is true, and can you explain that more? So if you could just really put out as much detailed information as possible, I think that would help sell this to the public.
Okay. Thank you very much.
Good evening, council members. My name is Matt Beatty, 705 Fifth Avenue. Come as a concerned parent of 2 boys in first grade, and I guess I'm glad that we're having the civic obligation and conversation about the easement, about the opportunity that we have presented in doing this in a very democratic manner. My question is, what happens if we don't pass it this time? As Mr. Lovelace noted, it's been 10 years, been brought back up. What happens if, the plan to continue as is with John Klein in his current condition? The alternatives of making sure to reinvest in new air conditioning, there are alternative ways to help make sure it's comfortable and having some classroom space for young students to be able to learn successfully. What happens with making it a Decorah, a desirable place to live and participate? And so I guess that's my question is, what are we gonna do if we don't do it now? So I see this as an exciting opportunity and fully support it. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Hello, my name's Tim Cronin. I live at 1009 Ridgewood Drive, work for the school district. I've got a lot to say. I don't think I can get it all done in 4 minutes. But I can just tell you I have a folder in my Google Drive. I just called it the KNOT, K-N-O-T, just to kind of remind myself of all the pieces that had to come together for us to even get to this point. And that involved a lot of compromise between the city council and the school board, and I appreciate everyone for those efforts. I understand that your motion today is to sell us the property, which we worked hard to get to. We, from a school district perspective, obviously we're gonna use the land to make a permanent home for softball and go for a bond issue for a new school. We felt good. I can tell you that the school board also felt good from the perspective of that we knew that the city would now have an opportunity to make permanent Little League fields in one area. Reading the article in the paper, Travis, you're quoted as saying you could put up to 5 fields out there, but it is a large space out at the Dalen property. So I know one of the things that we felt good about was working with you guys, and I think my quote was, it's mutually beneficial. And we truly believe that it is mutually beneficial to both groups. That being said, I know you're going to get lots of questions about our bond issue, which is great. If you guys get all those worked out for us, I'll just watch this later and take notes. But seriously, we know that there's a lot of stuff to work out. We're having discussions about where tennis courts go. We're a school district. We have to have tennis is very important to our high school, so we're going to have tennis courts. Where they are isn't quite determined yet. But we've worked through a lot of the other issues, and I feel like we have a really good plan. So thanks to Travis and everybody for their work. Obviously, I'm in strong support of you selling us the land. Thank you.
Maybe you could sit up here instead of going all the way back.
I know you might need to answer some of the questions.
No, I mean that seriously.
And I will add, I think the article had misattributed the quote to Travis. I'll speak for him since he can't, so that's say whatever I want now. We're paying you the money for the land. You're going to take that money and then you're going to build fields with it. The tennis courts is, the agreement is that this school district will build the tennis courts and the city would be responsible for the lights for those tennis courts. So that's the agreement, the verbal agreement that we have on that. So
I was serious about you staying up here though, in case there's further questions.
I think she means questions from us.
From you guys?
Okay. Yeah.
Do you have the authority to, I suppose
do.
you got the police chief.
Yes,
right
I
here.
do. You can sit in that chair right there. Okay,
Yeah.
is there anybody else? Thank you.
Wow. It's like being sent to the mayor.
Yeah. Is there anybody else who wishes to speak?
Janelle Pavlovic, 1102 Nordic Drive. Most of what I wanted to say, Herb and Carol Sand already have told you, so I won't say it again. But I think we need a lot of explanations. I understand why you have to talk about things in closed session, but once your decision is out, I think you should explain many, many things to us, including why you discarded some possibilities, and also one thing they did not mention is where are the recycling dumpsters going to go, and that 48-hour parking, which is much used.
Thank you very much. Anyone else? Seeing none, I'll close the public hearing. I think I'm going to ask the first question, since I know that when I spoke at Lions Club, I did not state about the tennis courts because I knew that there were discussions going on, and Tim had made some reflections on that. But that was one of the questions. We have several. I've written down most of the questions that people have. So, I'm asking you.
Okay. So I can tell you that there are no fewer than 3 actual locations that have been identified both by city and school as possible locations with other partners. For that reason, can't talk about necessarily the third, but 2 of locations include one in its kind of current site down in this area, the other being at the middle school. But we are working on a potential third location that in discussions could be, again, mutually beneficial among more than 2 parties.
Okay. I know it's very hard when people don't always have the facts of what are going on, but when we're working with property owners, there are 5 property owners. You're working with city council and school board. And so there's a lot of discussions and things and pieces that have to be worked out. And as we move forward, I know that there will be more information coming out too. I took down some of the other questions, but would somebody like to answer some of the questions that people had or address?
Do we close the public session?
Say that? Oh, sorry. Thank you very much.
Can
Okay,
we-
Oh, did you?
okay, okay.
Mayor, can we address Ms. Sands' concerns about the monies? Or do we have to have a motion on the floor before we can discuss?
No, I don't think so.
All right, and Travis, correct me if I'm wrong on this.
And then correct me if we need to have, I'm gonna go, your first question,
I
I'm
would
gonna
just
go to,
read the
I'm
next
gonna go to
item.
John.
Read the next item,
Okay,
and then we'll start the discussion on that.
okay,
resolution.
thank you very much.
Thank you.
I appreciate that. As we have about 3 different items. Okay, consider resolution approving declaration of reserved easement for well and access related to sale of real estate to the DCSD North Parcel. Okay. Who am I
Okay, so I
looking at?
gave all my background before the public hearing.
Okay, so what they would, does John have any comment on that?
No, I was pointing at Randy. I thought this was the
Okay,
time he
okay,
wanted to
well,
bring up his question.
Yes, I just want to make sure I got my numbers right when I'm talking to people. We will net $700,000 from this transaction, correct?
If you're taking into consideration the Dalen property, correct?
Yes. And then to develop that, so we get back to our 2 softball, baseball diamonds, we're gonna need approximately an additional 1.5 million. Andy, is that what we've kind of worked out with numbers? So that's another thing to be considered.
I thought the estimate was 1.3, the number that we've been working on.
1.37 something.
Okay.
These are not.
Right.
You're saying,
So we're about a
1314.
third of the way there with the profit from these 2 transactions of getting back what we
Halfway
have.
last I checked, that's
No,
half.
we need, no, third of the way, because we need 2.1 million
For what?
to build 2 diamonds
No, 1.3 to 1.4 is 2 diamonds.
diamonds.
2 brand-new diamonds.
Yeah,
on top, plus the 700.
No,
no, with the 700,000.
That's different numbering than what we talked
But
about.
we can also use what's
No, it's
there
not.
now for the
Yeah.
foreseeable future, correct? So
Correct.
we don't need 2 diamonds immediately, but we certainly could use 1, which we have money for the most part.
But the 1.24 is 2 diamonds.
That's 2
Yes.
full diamonds, lit,
Right.
fenced, everything? Okay.
We
well,
are
that was-
halfway there, just for clarification, we are halfway there to what we would need. And I think it's important to recognize that what we currently have needs major investment, right? So when we think about the investment that we would need to put into what we actually currently have, I think the figure floated to me was somewhere between 300,000 and 400,000, correct?
and that number with Andy and I talking could even be higher.
Right. So in terms of, I think there's been conversation in terms of what we have. We have some infrastructure that needs major investment to the tune of maybe $400,000. So when we consider that what we get when we move that facility out to Dalen is we get brand new facilities with an additional investment that the school district is providing us, including the investment we would need to make into the current ones we have here. In my mind, that's almost like a win-win zero, right? In terms of we need to put in 400,000 here. We've got 700 from the district. We're almost there if we move locations regarding the softball field and such. I guess since I'm talking, I'll just finish with what I have to say, and then I'll let other council folks say. I don't know if I'm going to say this very succinctly because I was trying to take notes on what people were saying. But I'll start with why I'm really excited about this initiative. Mark was very generous by suggesting that he found a letter from 2013, because I happen to know we were on shareholders together long before that, excited to be on shareholders with the prospects of a new elementary school because our kids were in first grade together. And so after what has been to me almost 15 years, I think we have finally reached a space, or place, where we give the district the full opportunity to design a space that meets the needs of the district and of residents of Decorah, without dealing on contingencies with land they don't own, with thinking about what they can and can't do because they don't own the land, and always with this idea of, well, what if and what if and what if. I also really appreciate Mark's comments about trusting elected officials. I know that when I ran, with about 70% of my ward supporting me, it was clearly on the basis of a downtown school and trying to get that downtown school done. And I do think that it's been hard to put out information because all of the things and all of the work that the district has been doing for the last 15 years is often with property owners who either won't sell, who have a price tag that is so high and astronomical, it is not even capable of being talked about, or don't want it known that they're talking about selling the land to the school, right? And all of these things have happened year after year. And then you get into the whole, well, what if about this and what about that? And at some point you just have to say, let's knock off the first priority. We need a school. And know and have faith that the town, the community, the people that you have entrusted with your vote are working for every other thing that is important to all of us, right? I'm an avid pickleball player. I know that many people on the police force will leave if we don't have pickleball. And so clearly that is in my vested interest to make sure pickleball is in Decorah, right? In the same way that we have friends and family who love tennis. And these things are things we know are important and valued in our community and will be here for all of us for generations to come. But right now the focus is on the first step, and that first step is this. And I'm really excited today to take that first step and to work diligently alongside the school in getting a bond passed with as much information as we can give at the time we have it. And I think right now the best answer we have to, well, what's it going to look like, is now the school district can figure this out, right? They now have an opportunity with a whole solid piece of land that they will own to do what is best for the Decorah community and is best for our children.
Thank you. Who'd like to go next?
I'm happy to.
Okay.
I'm like Emily, I really only, have some prepared comments to share. After listening to comments from the public, and especially those who bravely stepped in front of the microphone tonight, I know that can be nerve-wracking. For some of you at least. Herb's an old hand at it, but for some of the rest, I'm really grateful for the public input on this. And one thing that I heard several times from at least a few of you is an expression of strong desire for more information now that the big parts of this decision have come to the cusp of being hammered out. And I feel your frustration. I acknowledge it. I think you all probably know that if we were too open with our actual negotiations with landholders, or we told people, hey, we're looking for a parcel of land, and then we called a particular property owner, that might drive up the price a lot. That's not good stewardship of our community's limited fiscal resources. We'd have to, lean on our taxpayers to pay a bigger price because we ran our mouths. No one wants that, I'm sure. And so there were some things that we simply just had to do behind closed doors. There are other things that I know that there's some desire that the process has been more open throughout, related to things like the location of the recycling containers, the location of tennis courts, where a recreational facility is going to go exactly, and a whole host of other very important things in terms of the final picture that this transaction will result in painting for our community. There are important decisions to be made. I want to share with you all what happened in an open meeting. It was a joint meeting with the school board and the city council, and we were considering the Bolton and Mink, proposed design that, had a campus and redone parking facilities, and all of a sudden I looked at my watch and realized that between the two groups we'd spent some 20 or 30 minutes. I didn't have a watch on. I looked at my phone, to be honest. We spent like 20 or 30 minutes. We've been talking about, where buses should park and what direction they should be pointed, and how long they idle for, and we were getting really deep into the weeds. And that seemed to, that it seems like we've gone down that path before as a community. When we're making really big decisions, we start worrying about the things that we should worry about at the end of the decision-making process. We start worrying about them at the beginning. And collectively, as two groups, we decided we were going to try something different this time. We decided, let's first say where we want to get to and make sure that our staff has clear direction on our goal, which I think the majority goal was we want a school downtown and a new home for our recreational facilities and a fair deal for all the taxpayers involved. And our staff worked really hard to come up with this. Our lawyers and our administrators and our city manager and our superintendent, and a lot of us worked really hard on it as well. But we always kept that, guiding star in sight, where we said we're really going to focus on those big goals first, those multi-million-dollar goals, knowing that we are going to have to make some important but not so big decisions after we've made those big decisions. Things like the exact location of the tennis courts. If we had to, come up with that and make sure that everyone was okay with, that part of the plan, and then come up with where the recycling bins would go and make sure everyone was okay with that part of the plan, we would get derailed. I don't think we'd be here tonight. And so I think we made a good decision to make the big decisions first. And the other thing is, some of these other decisions that still are to be made, the things that we don't know. There are things that we don't know about how this is going to look. Those decisions, it would not have been appropriate for us to make behind closed doors. To the extent that we can invite and engage community input, we want that. We want to talk to our paddle sport enthusiasts about the location of the tennis courts and the pickleball facilities. And we want to talk to people who are much better than me at designing, interior fixtures, what color the walls of the school should be, right? We need to bring in the community members, the stakeholders, and the experts to make those important decisions. That we can't let the tail wag the dog on this. And that's why we've gone about this the way we have. Others have talked about a gap of, this is Randy's point, that there's this gap in terms of what we will net from this transaction as a city and what it will take us to replace our recreational facilities in this new space if we, when and if we need to do that. The gap is several $100,000, and I think that's no small thing, although Emily's point that we would be getting new facilities that are nice in exchange for pretty degraded facilities, it's important to keep that in mind. But the other number that we never talk about is how many millions of dollars the city would be on the hook for in terms of providing new infrastructure to the school if they finally had to build an elementary school up in the business park or up Locust Road. That would require a significant investment from the city in terms of hard infrastructure, roads and sewers, and it would also create a ton of traffic. Traffic costs cities money as well. And so I really think it's important, that we're talking about the hundreds of thousands of dollars that we might have to invest in our new recreational facilities. I think it's important to talk about the millions of dollars we won't have to invest in providing infrastructure to a school that is built where there's now a cornfield. This is the right thing to do, I think, for our kids. I'm proud of it. It's one of the things I'm proudest of in terms of my time on council. I think it's the right thing to do for our downtown business district, and I think it's the right thing to do for our community's long-term future. That's why I'm going to support it tonight.
I was also a shareholder in the school system along with Emily and Mark, and it's been a long time. It's a lot of water under the bridge. And the studies that were done about the importance of having the school in the downtown for walkable, the benefits of having a walkable school and a shared multi-generation campus for the students to share that exchange is key. And as a resident of the flats, I have the opportunity to watch the kids walk onto the dike and on their class field trips and whatnot downtown because I telecommute and my office sits in back and I watch them and the amount of education that is provided just by location and opportunity is immense. The walkability of the work of our Safe Routes to School program and our work in the streets and sidewalks to make sure we have safe routes to school is important. And so the due diligence that we've done that hasn't been talked about or doesn't get to the light, the unsexy things, the traffic studies that we've done for the Venningham area to know that it'll cost at least $1.3 million to put in a new road. The traffic studies that we've done out the impact of walkable, bikeable recreation and whatnot. The back work has been done. The elimination of other spots has been done. And the opportunity of having all of these dominoes lined up to be able to fall together in support of our most important resource, our kids, and have taken this long is really tough. But again, I'm also very proud that we're able to do this and to have the votes tonight, I believe, to make this happen, which always wasn't always the case on my time in council. So to have the stars aligned to take advantage of this opportunity through shared decision-making with the school board and the council is a beautiful thing. And I hope the community is supportive of our efforts. It is, like everyone has acknowledged, it's been hard to communicate a very complex, multifaceted effort, but it's not for lack of work. Communication is always difficult, like Carol noted, that the channels are fractured now. We don't have one source of communication and one trusted source of information. So it's going to be really important that we work together to, as we move this forward, because the devil is in the details. And when you make that clear, the end goal of a new school and safe and beautiful facilities is key. Because if you didn't show up at 5 o'clock tonight, you didn't come to the wastewater engineering plan work session. But in that work session, having the ability to have solar and batteries at the wastewater treatment plant will change our city's ability to not have on-peak power and to have backup for, pardon the pun, for sewer and water. And that is also part of this land purchase and sale. So it's all good things. And I'm going to be supportive and thank you for your trust.
I don't have a lot to add from what's already been said, but I want to thank the school board and their leadership and all of you up here for having the fortitude to push forward with this and to just have it occurred to me earlier this year that, this is coming together. This is going to get done. And I think that most of us, maybe all of us, had the feeling, let's get this done. Let's push forward and make this happen. And congratulations to all of you. I think it's a fabulous start. And obviously more questions will be answered as we go along, but some of the big pieces just are coming together, and hats off to all of you.
The only thing I guess I could add was when the first vote that we had in reference to this was the purchase of the Dalen property. And my vote initially was a hesitant yes. And it was for many reasons that have been pointed out here. We're not sure where that money is all going to come to build a new softball field. We're not sure where the tennis courts are going to go, where the money's going to come to go for that stuff. But in watching the school board meeting here that they had a few weeks ago, I think the term was brought up that you guys have been at this for 16 years, I believe it is. So 16 years is a long time. And by the time you get around to a referendum, say next year, and a couple years to get the school built, even if everything goes right, you're looking at almost 20 years it's taken to get this thing done. And the reason I voted yes was because I think it's time to get this thing done. And the more I've looked into these things, I think this community has shown that we will come together and figure out ways to get this softball field paid for, possibly get 2 softball fields, maybe even more out in that area. We've got a lot of usage. We can use that area out there for the Dalen property. I'm sure we're going to find a place for tennis courts. I know how popular pickleball is. I'm sure we're going to find a way to get pickleball courts built. So I feel confident that this community will come together and figure out ways to get those things done. So those things that I was initially hesitant on, I'm fully in support of getting this done tonight for the school and moving on.
I have to say that this council is a group of people that I have found to be very cautious with our city's tax money and very wanting to do what's best for the community. And I think that supporting this vote for the property sales makes total sense, moving us forward as a community to unite and to be positive toward getting a bond referendum passed for a new elementary school.
Okay, what I'm going to take us back to, we have a few items before we actually get to the main vote. And so I'll go back to 7, and I don't.
Mayor, can we, I know that Andy has had his hand raised, and I think there was something he wanted to add to the discussion.
I just wanted to go back and clarify to Randy's remarks early on, and I want to make sure you guys understand some money things, because I don't want to mislead you at all. Randy, when we were talking a bigger number, when you were asking, you were just asking ball diamonds. In our closed session, when we got bigger numbers, that was because we were adding lighting tennis courts and adding pickleball on top of that 700,000. So I didn't want someone to say I misled you and said we could do all this for 700,000, because we can't.
Right. Well, the number that
And
you kept coming back to was it would be an additional 1.5 million to replace what we have.
You could, I don't know if it'd be that much, but we could be, it could be well over $1 million. We have no idea what lighting costs. There's lots of variables where it's at, what it could be. Those are, to the point it's uncomfortable throwing numbers out, but they could be substantial. So I just wanted to make sure that I didn't mislead you tonight by saying there was only just a ball diamond to do, because there's more work than that, so.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, just for clarification, right? 'Cause
Yeah,
now
I
think
was
that's-
going to get some clarification.
Yes,
myself.
now that we're going back and forth again, to replace the current 2 ball diamonds, well, to build 2 ball
To
diamonds
build 2 brand new ones.
with the lighting, 1.3
to
to
1.4
1.4.
is what we have for
Yes.
estimates, correct?
Not an additional, just to be clear. Because I think when you say additional, it seems like it's 2.8. But we're not talking that, we're talking 1.4.
Right.
Ish.
And, for clarification, so if your discussion included, this other discussion included dedicated pickleball courts, we don't have those currently. We've got 6 pickleball courts painted on 3 tennis courts. We don't currently have 6 lit tennis courts. We have 3. So I want to make sure if we're clarifying, those numbers are not to get us where we're at today.
Right.
Okay. What we need to do first is go back to item 7. I don't believe I'd have a motion and second, so I'll read it again, because we have several motions to go through. Consider resolution approving declaration of reserved easement for well and access related to sale of real estate to the DCSD North Parcel.
I make a motion to approve the declaration of reserved easement for well access related to the sale of real estate easement to DCSD.
Second.
Motion made by Neal, seconded by Olson. Any further discussion?
Just to make it clear, that's wellhead protection, and it's a water quality issue. So it sounds like legalese, but it's a requirement of protecting the land and the well.
Any further discussion? Hearing seen none. Roll call.
Neal?
Aye.
Olson?
Aye.
Luce?
Aye.
Sittergruen?
Aye.
Hadley?
Aye.
Johnson?
Aye.
Chisel?
No.
Consider resolution approving reserved utility easements related to sale of real estate to DCSD, North and South parcels.
Make a motion that we approve the reserved utility easements related to the sale of the real estate to the DCSD.
Second.
Motion made by Neal, seconded by Zittergruen. Any further discussion?
And that's a giant storm drain that's under the current softball field.
And a whole lot more.
And a whole lot more, but
Water,
that's the-
sanitary.
yeah.
Yeah.
Roll call?
Neal?
Aye.
Zittergruen?
Aye.
Luce?
Aye.
Hadley?
Aye.
Johnson?
Aye.
Chisel?
No.
Olson?
Aye.
Consider resolution approving declaration of reserved sidewalk easement related to sale of real estate to DCSD.
I make a motion that we approve the declaration of reserved sidewalk easement related to the sale of real estate to DCSD.
Luce would second.
Motion made by Neal, seconded by Luce. Further discussion? Hearing none, roll call.
Neal?
Aye.
Luce?
Aye.
Zittergruen?
Aye.
Hadley?
Aye.
Johnson?
Aye.
Chisel?
No.
Olson?
Aye.
Okay. Consider a resolution approving facilities use agreement related to sale of real estate to DCSD.
Make a motion to approve the facilities use agreement related to the sale of real estate to the DCSD.
Second.
Who seconded?
Johnson.
Motion made by Neal, seconded by Johnson. Any discussion? Hearing none, roll call.
Neal?
Aye.
Johnson?
Aye.
Hadley?
Aye.
Chisel?
No.
Olson?
Aye.
Luce?
Aye.
Zittergruen?
Aye.
Motion carried. And number 11, consider resolution approving the sale of city-owned real property in the vicinity of Decorah High School softball diamond and the corner of Claiborne Drive and Hively Street.
I make a
Luce would
motion.
move the resolution.
Oh, come on.
I'll second it, Mayor.
Okay, motion made by Luce, seconded by Olson,
That was Zittergreen.
or Zittergreen, sorry.
You guys knew you were usually
Further-
waiting.
Any further discussion?
I just want to make one comment, and that is I'm going to cry. I mean, honestly, this is really amazing and awesome as we take this vote. But I guess I shouldn't cry till after the vote. I do want to say that I've seen many times the game of telephone happen in our community on Facebook, and things that people say and hear, and I heard this and I don't know this. You've got an entire school board and an entire city council available to answer questions whenever you have them as a public. And I strongly suggest that if you have questions, because this is not done, we still have a bond. And I think it's really important to ask the questions before you make assumptions. And I hope that happens.
I guess I appreciate Herb coming and pointing something out that was important that the mayor actually did. She offered an I don't know. Sometimes we don't know. Sometimes it's still a work in process. But what we do know is that we need a new school. And this is the step that does it. So thanks for that. And I think the ratio of the vote on the council will show the support of the council for the new school. So thanks for your work.
Mayor, sorry, may I just, or do you want to say something? Go ahead.
No, I was going to call for.
I've got a quick one, just a quick one. When I ran for this position, it was almost 6 months ago, it feels like now. I put this front and center in terms of the things that I promised to try to deliver to my ward. I said, I'm going to work hard for a downtown school. And sometimes I took heat from that when I knocked on doors. People disagreed with me. And then they probably voted against me, and that's how it's supposed to work. But voters did have a say there. And I know that I'm not alone. I know that, I know that other council members up here also led with that when they were making their case for why they should be entrusted with this important position of leadership. And I just want to sort of honor and acknowledge the voters' choices that were made that resulted in us being in a position to make this vote. And like I said, I'm proud of this. I'm proud of our community coming together. And I'm even grateful for those people who disagreed with me or who disagree with this plan now, because I think this has been an extremely impressive example of civic public discourse achieving an outcome, not one that we're all going to like. And actually, we're not going to like everything about this one. I mean, I certainly won't. But it will make our city stronger. I firmly believe that, and that's why I'll be working hard to support the bond when the school board gives us the opportunity.
I just had one quick thing to add. When I was on the school board, I was very, very concerned about the safety of our students. And I think that I've never had any kids go through the Decorah Community School District. I did myself, but I've never had one go through here. But if I were to prioritize our tax dollars and where they get spent on, I can't think of one tax dollar that would go above educating our next generation of kids. So I think this is probably the most important tax dollar we'll spend. So thank you.
Any other comments? Roll call.
Luce?
Aye.
Zittergrund?
Aye.
Johnson?
Aye.
Chisel?
No.
Neal?
Aye.
Olson?
Aye.
Hadley?
Aye.
I know that we've come a long ways with this. We also have a long ways to go. But one of the key things for this community to do is not limit themselves, but to start creating visions to help the school get this through. There are a lot of questions that can be answered and can be put forth, but the potential for that property is huge. I get excited about that potential in itself for ball diamonds in any way, shape, or form, but I also get excited for the educational opportunities that are going to take place. So please join the conversation and, you know, put your input in as well, but also allow yourself to vision to see what the potential would be. Thank you. Okay, consider the award of facility assessment.
Tim wants to run away. Can you go?
I've got an orchestra concert, Mayor. Am I allowed to leave now?
Yes, you may. Okay,
Thanks, everybody.
all right. We still have a little bit left to go here, so can you give a background, or are you waiting for people to exit?
Sure. So this item is in front of council because the way our purchasing policy works, myself as city manager can only authorize purchases up to $10,000. So the city staff solicited 3 numbers there was a 4th received, but didn't quite meet the same specifications that we were trying to achieve. What we did was reach out to several consulting engineering firms and said, what would you charge to come to Decorah City Hall, fire station, police station, and truly look at what we have and say, assume no improvements made over the next 10 years, what's it going to cost for us to maintain this facility, and at what intervals are those going to come up? This serves 2 purposes. One is if we do nothing, the conversation's been had and still ongoing on fire station remodel or as a new construction. But assume nothing is done, what do we need to budget for maintenance of this facility in the next 10 years? So that's what all the proposals are meant to achieve. This requires the consultant to come on site, look at our physical assets, go to the boiler room, look at the boiler model number, install date, when it would be anticipated that we need to replace that infrastructure. This has really, I talk about 2 things it can achieve. One is to help us on the budgeting. The second, to help with that discussion on what a potential fire station remodel, new construction looks like. We heard tonight about the meet the teacher night. We're walking the room and it's 90 degrees. I can tell you right now, if you walk into Renee and Carrie's office, it's a steady 85. We cannot seem to get those offices below 85 degrees when the boiler heat is on, and we have a sealed building with no windows. So another part of that conversation we need to know at the staff level is, do we need to budget to put windows in that open so we can open them in winter to try and regulate the heat in that side of the building? But that is where we're at. 3 proposals were received, a 4th that didn't quite align with the other 3, but also was the second highest. So the lowest of the 3 quotes we received was $11,000 from Brunton Architects, which is also the firm that the city's been working with on the discussion of a fire station remodel, new construction.
I'm going to ask in this meeting what I asked you today about the Brunton evaluation, because I know that they did an evaluation before and how that differs from what we're asking them to do now.
Yeah, now we're asking them to assign dollar amounts to the necessary repairs, timelines, and as well not generalities. So that actually was another proposal that Brunton said, you know, for a couple thousand, we can use our notes that we have as well as pictures that we have on site and send you, yeah, you can anticipate your HVAC should, your boiler should need to be replaced every 20 years. Well, that doesn't achieve, you know, one, I mean, I can go and look and see what date it's installed and stuff on, but they don't know what the model number of that is. They don't know what that actual model's life expectancy is. The same with forced air units, with the electrical panel. Underneath here in the crawl space, the actual insulation wrap on all the pipes underneath, what condition are those? Are they asbestos? Along with features, physical features of the building with maintenance and repair, this also addresses, the proposals will also include accessibility and code issues. For example, our sleeping quarters in the fire station have no egress windows. There's one way in and out of our fire station sleeping quarters. So that's one. There's a couple other features that we know of that one in particular we don't point out for security concerns, but it will also address accessibility and code compliance issues.
Are we getting this information solely to make the decision on whether or not we need upgrades to this building?
It could be used towards that, and if nothing else, so let's say council says, nope, we're doing what we're going to keep on keeping on. We will then at least know at the staff level what we have to budget for the next upcoming years, because we already have at least one $50,000 quote. What's the Casper's one? $50,000 for forced air down at the fire station.
My personal feeling, I feel like we're going to spend $11,000 to tell us something we already know. But in terms of, we know we need major investment into the building, right? And so if the whole purpose is to figure out, like, should we remodel or not remodel, I guess I feel like we don't need exactness. That to me, for the couple $1,000s, they probably could give us a good figure in terms of what we need to get to the knowledge of, should we remodel this, should we do nothing? But
But they're also going to give us individual parts of that, right? Like to reinforce the floor in the fire department, to do this, to do X, Y, and Z. So like you said, you'll have a grassroots thing to be able to go forward with, okay, we can do X, Y, and Z this year, A, B, and C next year, or something like that, I assume.
Correct. Think of it like a CIP for the building, essentially. That's what it would help us develop, because, again, let's say the conversation is, you know what, it's $750,000. We can do that. I don't think that's the dollar amount, but we can then look at over the next 10 years and see where those years fall, where those expenses are going to come up, and we can prepare for those.
How about some comments from
I have sort of one trail of thought follows Emily's. I want to make sure that we're not spending $11,000 that we should spend fixing the windows. Mm-hmm. And then just make sure that, I know common sense only goes so far, but we know this building has some issues to address. And if we're not, pushing forward down a path of a new fire station in the near future, I think we ought to start taking care of what we have and investing in it, even if, things change in 5 years. So I guess that's one of my sort of I don't want to spend this money when it could at least get us on the road to fixing a few things. My only other concern is that if the council decides that it wants to push forward with one of these plans or proposals, I've got at least concerns that we would use the firm that, I know they've done some of the pre-work already, but given that they have a financial stake in sort of convincing us that this building is not worth throwing another penny into, I'm curious about the propriety of using them for this assessment. I'd like that addressed, actually. I think you probably have an answer.
Yep, and I get that. I don't want to call it a counterpoint by any means, but similar concern. But Brunton is on contract to a certain point that does not include the actual implementation of the new construction, correct? Well, I guess Mike's not over there. But it gets us through conceptual only. Like, they're not on contract to actually design a new building here yet. So any one of these other firms as well that have submitted proposals could in theory be, quite honestly, I think they submit proposals because they want a chance at that. They want a chance at the actual design should that happen.
So, I mean, then all of them might have this incentive to come in and tell us, yeah, this building's crap. You obviously need to build a new, new huge facility.
They might.
Okay. I mean, that seems, when we're getting that report, I hope, if we get it, I hope council members remember that. And if they tell us it's going to be $20,000 a year for the next 10 years, that actually isn't that much compared to a new facility. I hope we remember that too. And that if we build a new facility, it starts depreciating right away. And that's a cost that won't show up on our books for 30 years, but then it'll show up in a big way. So those are my comments for now.
Kind of preaching with the choir, or joining the choir. It does concern me that we're hiring people who plan for the future for major remodels of buildings. They're not structural engineers. They're not HVAC specialists necessarily. They're design firms. Would the $11,000 be better spent to hire someone who specializes in maintenance?
So, to the first part of that, Brunton Architecture and Envision Architecture, yep, those are design type firms. So ISG is a multidisciplinary firm that does include PEs, civil engineers, and so they would have a little bit more broad, but they were also the most expensive. So I'm not necessarily advocating down that path, but that's an interesting concept. If we could reach out, I don't know where I'd go.
Because to your point, though, going down in the pit and taking a picture of the boiler and finding that model number and looking at longevity, that's not an architecture firm's wheelhouse. That's a different thing altogether. And if that's what you want, I don't think this is what we're seeing the bids for. I'm not seeing I really like your statement, a capital improvement plan for this building. I very much support that. I'm not sure that what we're seeing reflects that potential.
I'll just, one follow on, because I don't want you to think I'm totally against this. I just wanted to make sure you heard my concerns. I do actually trust your judgment, Travis, and so having heard my concerns, if you think that this is actually, knowing kind of where the council is on these things, if you actually think this puts you in a position to make good financial decisions for the city that might pay for itself, let me know, because I'll be in support of it.
So I do think it'll help with future planning, whether it is we're going to maintain the existing facility as it is. Absolutely, it's a CIP for this building for budgeting purposes. Helps us out tremendously on the financial side. What I think this will also do is provide information to council. It might be inflationary. I'm not disagreeing that that's what the end goal of some of these firms might be, is to convince to go down that path. But if the number does come back at 4 or 5 million over the next 10 years, and the alternative of a full remodel of this building was 10 million, that might be a conversation council then wants to have.
And we can't get that number in-house. I mean, no matter what they tell us.
Greg, what's your schedule look like?
No, I know, I mean. Permits are slow. No matter what they tell us, there's a certain amount of, no one really knows when that boiler's gonna fail, right? I mean, there is some uncertainty in anything
Correct.
that is done. So I guess I'm looking for the broad stroke brush, right? I guess I don't need the minutia of this is what's going to cost for this now, and we don't know replacement costs because we don't know what inflation's going to do. So I guess if the purpose is it really still sounds to me like the purpose is to decide whether or not we're going to invest in what we have right now or remodel. And if that's the purpose, I'm comfortable with a broader brush than paying someone $11,000. Not because I think that we can spend it on a window, but I think we have to recognize that we're a long way from a new building. And so if there are things that we need to get done now to make people feel, safer, more secure, and more comfortable in their jobs as we think about remodeling, that to me is a better use of $11,000 than someone to tell us what I think we probably have a good idea of in-house. Like asbestos, maybe you hire someone who can tell you if our pipes are asbestos, but that's how they are.
I would say they're going to be.
Well, see?
least
No,
you're
exactly.
at least you're downstairs.
Why do we have to pay someone to
Because
tell
I
us?
don't know what the costs are going to be to replace them.
But we don't know that either because we don't know when it's going to happen.
Well, at least I'll know a dollar amount associated with their cost.
Just for
When it-
example.
Would a report from these folks give us basically a priority list of bullet points of things that need to be done and a ballpark figure on what it would take to do it?
Correct. Yes.
Then you could, if you're going to remodel, you can decide which ones you're going to tick off this year and next year and so on. Correct.
Correct.
And if that's the case, then I think the $11,000 is worth it.
In each one of my discussions with all of these firms that submitted proposals, I kind of benchmarked 2, 5, and 10. They're not going to be able to year 6, this is going to fail. Year 7, this is going to fail. But I need to know within the next 2 years, what do we need to address? Next 5 years, next 10. So, when I say over the next 10 years, I am speaking a bit in generalities, but it is a phase. What do we need to address right away? What is in the immediate future, 5 years? What's in 10? I was trying to look here in my email that in my discussions with Jeff Little, who's with Brunton, he did have kind of a lighter version that I want to say was around 7,000-8,000, but again, it did not include coming on site. And so for the difference of 3,000, I thought there was value there, and you evaluate our actual boiler, our actual pipe conditions,
Yeah, I mean, if they don't come on site, having a hypothetical estimate is definitely what Emily's they're gonna look like. You have a 1950s building in a sealed envelope? I think you have issues, right? If you really want that granular level of a CIP, I think you need to have a on the ground, in the trench, building inspection. Would this also include the leased portion of this building?
does not. It stops at where the county takes over.
Okay. Would it be worthwhile extending the offer to the county and have a holistic look at this building?
I could talk with Sheriff Mark, see if that's something of interest of him. I know they did just do some HVAC work, I think, down there on the sheriff's side.
Okay. Well, I just think it would be worth having the conversation because it is a complex. Do they have their own HVAC?
They do.
It's completely.
Yep, short of the corridor that connects the two and the air blends there.
Okay.
They have their own HVAC units. They have their own electric meter, and everything else it's all separate.
Gotcha. Okay.
One other thing I just want to bring up, not that, it's just a point that you're going to have to deal with in the future. I'm not. But this building is a historic structure. It's an alt-village design building. It has the cantilever roof. It's unique in its own right. And I think not considering a remodel of this building would be a big mistake. And I think, particularly in this community where there are a lot of folks who prize this kind of structure. So keep that in mind when you're talking about, what should we do? Because I think leveling this building is probably out of the question.
Yeah.
And should be, perhaps. That's all.
Emily's comment, can we do this in-house, was really clarifying for me because, if you'd said yes, I would have been like, we have too many staff people if we can do this in-house. And then I realized, well, what we're doing here is we're hiring someone for 3 to 4 weeks, an engineer for 3 to 4 weeks of their time. I mean, that's what the cost, that's what we're talking about here. People's time is very expensive in this industry. And I guess, if I think about it like that, like we're just hiring a staffer for 4 weeks to do something that we don't have the capacity to do. You know, paying $10,000 for a report that I feel like it's going to tell me a lot of stuff I already know, that kind of gives me the creeps. But you know, you've kind of made a case that this is going to put us in a good position and give us some real data going forward. But I will urge everyone to remember when we receive this report, who wrote it. That it can give us a pecking order, but it might have a big scary number that, you know, is trying to convince us to raise and rebuild. And I hope that that's not our instinct.
I do have a question.
Go ahead.
Where does the money come from?
Carrie. No, that's, so we would have to incorporate it into our existing budget. It would come out of administrative.
Can I make a motion then? Your recommendation is Brunton, or can I make it with you following your own instinct on this, or what?
I would go with Brunton.
Okay, Mayor, I'd like to move that we accept the proposal from Brunton Architects.
Second.
Okay, motion made by Zittergruen, seconded by Olson, to go with Brunton Architects for the facility assessment. Any further discussion? See?
I'm just going to say I will vote no. I really appreciate the work you're doing. I think it's tangible and good. I like your vision. I'm just not convinced, and I'm just not convinced that it's the right path. I would have liked to have seen deliverables in an apples to apples approach of their expertise in historic preservation, building structure, maintenance, not design of a new space. So I'm just going to vote no. It's not about you. It's about the offerings.
Any further discussion? Roll call.
Zittergruen?
Aye.
Olson?
Aye.
Chisel?
Aye.
Neal?
I don't know is an option. I'll trust you. Okay. Yes.
Luce?
No.
Hadley?
No.
Johnson?
Aye.
Okay, motion carried. Vacancy on the telecommunications board. I know they're looking for someone to replace, to fill a position there. And then we will have to be looking at as far as the Human Rights Commission as well.
And I would add, if you would, Mayor, so with telecommunications utility, they're in for a lot of work here
Yeah, they are.
very, very shortly. So this is, a lot of people don't understand with the fiber to the premises discussion, that is not a council-led discussion. That is that telecommunications utility. They are responsible for pretty much everything that we do for everything else.
Okay.
Share the term on that, please.
What's that?
Share the term.
It would be the remainder of, I believe it was only just less than a year that the person that stepped down had.
Okay.
Grab that here.
So if there's 3 years left?
No, I believe there's less than 1 year that was left on their
Oh.
term. But I would certainly hope that whoever wants to fill that is in for the long haul, because we've got some work going ahead of us.
Okay.
What?
No, that is,
Oh, okay.
yeah, no, that is the one. Okay, staff and department heads. Travis?
Nothing, Mayor.
Carrie? Nothing. I think there's some back there.
I'll talk.
Yeah, how about from the street department? There you
Okay.
go.
Just wanted to mention, it was in the update this morning, I think, but we don't have a schedule yet for leaf collection. It'll be coming soon. We do, however, have a great instructional video on our Facebook page that's been shared by others. Special shout out to the library staff, Nick and Zach in particular, Kristen as well, for helping us produce that. They did an awesome job. So I think it's hopefully answers a lot of questions that we've been receiving since we've adjusted our leaf collection method. So just wanted to point that out, that resource is out there.
Jeremy, is yard waste just still regular hours?
Yes, thank you. It will be regular hours, probably through Thanksgiving is our tentative plan.
Do you know when that leaf collection will commence, or?
No,
we don't have a
sorry.
date
So
yet? Okay.
yeah, I went quickly there. We don't know yet.
Okay.
If you could get the leaves to get their acts
Together,
together and
okay.
start falling, that'd be
Alright.
great. Some have, but most haven't. So I would
Talk to 'em.
guess in the next week and a half or so.
We'll start blowing really hard.
And let's see, Todd.
As maybe some of you remember and some maybe don't, for the last year and a half or so, we've been working with Homeland Security and FEMA on some emergency standby generators for 6 locations. First estimates were some of the transfer switches were 36 weeks out, some of the generators were 48 weeks out. I called Decorah Electric today, who was the one who was awarded the bid, and he informed me that all of the transfer switches were delivered today. 2 of the generators are in, but they're waiting on some parts. And 2 of the other generators will be here by the end of the month.
Sweet.
One generator is still up in the air as far as when that's going to be delivered. He said he's going to start installing transfer switches the first part of next week. So hopefully all the transfer switches will be in. And once the generators come in, he can start installing those one at a time. So maybe we won't have to ask for an extension from FEMA on the generators.
That'd be great.
Great news for us.
Yep. Anybody else over there have any other reports? Seeing none, we'll start over here. Kirk?
No, I don't. It's been an interesting meeting tonight, and I thank all of you for your words regarding the school issue. But I want to just add one thing about the recycling dumpsters that are sitting over here. I don't know where they're going to go, but I'm glad they're leaving there. And they've been sitting in the center of Decorah for a long time. We can certainly find a better place than across from City Hall for those dumpsters.
Well, and that's one of the goals as far as figure out where those dumpsters should be relocated to.
I look forward to all of you deciding where they go.
Well, we could do that real quick between now and the end of December. Ross? Steve?
I've said enough.
I have
Steve Luce.
nothing, Mayor.
Real quick, we have an election coming up again, November 7th. Early voting starts Wednesday. I think you can request absentee ballots until the 23rd, so you've got time to get that done. But Election Day is November 7th.
Thank you. Emily?
Nope, thank you.
Randy?
I have nothing this evening, Mayor.
I just wanted to make note, I did attend Carl Severson's memorial. Swinson's, I'm sorry. Memorial, which was extremely impressive. There were a lot of people from around the state because he was very much into the state level as well. And then they had a very impressive walk from the church down to the firehouse. So it was a good send-off, and I appreciated the work that the fire department did for that. So I don't have anything else, but thank you for the good meeting.
Move to adjourn.
Thank you.